It's championship weekend here in the NFL, and we have two star-studded matchups in the AFC and the NFC to determine who is going to the Super Bowl. We've got the Ravens and the Chiefs, a classic. Everybody pretty much expected these two to be the teams that were going to be here. And the Lions and the 49ers. I don't know about you guys, but the Lions were not on my bingo card to represent the NFC in the championship game. Now, each one of these teams has some very distinctive strengths and some very distinctive weaknesses. We're going to cover each one of them, their biggest strength and their biggest weakness that can determine whether or not they do or don't win the Super Bowl. Alright, now first up we have who are probably America's least favorite team this weekend, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and company, everybody just kind of hates them right now, especially with the whole Taylor Swift thing going on. But they are a viable contender. Now, while they'll win, or why they could possibly win, their pass defense. They're second in total defense overall, 289.8 yards per game allowed. They're number 2 in scoring defense. Only the Baltimore Ravens are better. They have 17.3 points per game allowed. Their pass defense is ranked 4th with 177.6 yards per game allowed. That's the best currently of all of the teams in the playoffs. They're the second most sacks in the NFL with 57. That's just 3 behind Baltimore. They are tied for 4th least pass touchdowns allowed with 19. They have an 8.51% sack rate. That's the best in the NFL. I believe it's pretty wide of a margin. It's by like 3%. And they allow just 5.3 yards per attempt. That's enough for the second best in the NFL. The Chiefs are going crazy. Their defense has been playing unstoppable pass-wise. Now, as for why they won't win the Super Bowl, they've got to improve their rush defense. They're allowing 4.5 rush yards per attempt. That's ranked 23rd in the NFL. All 3 of the other teams are top 5 in rush yards per attempt. It's just about 4.5 or better for all of them. Baltimore, who they're facing this weekend, has 5 yards per carry. All 3 of the teams are top 7 in rush yards per game. All 3 of these teams are facilitating their pass attack around the rush game. These 3 they're going, especially teams like Detroit. Detroit has 2 viable running options, and Baltimore has 3 to 4 to 5. There are tons of options for the remainder of these teams, and if Kansas City can't figure it out when it comes to protecting the rush, especially now with there being a lot of rushing teams left, they're not going to have what it takes. They've really got to pick it up, and I think that Mahomes, he plays incredibly, but if the Chiefs, their defense can't figure it out on the ground, especially against the number 1 rushing offense in the league, they're not going to have a chance of making it to the Super Bowl, let alone winning. Up next, we have their counterparts in the AFC, and a lot of people's definite number 1s to win the Super Bowl. We've got the Baltimore Ravens. Now, it's for a very good reason. They hold the number 1 defense in the NFL. They hold the number 1 record in the NFL. And everybody thinks that their defense is going to be the reason that they win this Super Bowl. However, I disagree. Now, I think that while they'll win, it's going to come down to Lamar. He's the league MVP. There's no doubt about it. He has like minus 10,000 odds to win this year. He has a 65 total QB rating. 40. That's 4th in the NFL. 4th best. He has 821 rushing yards. KC just gave up 72 rush yards and 2 touchdowns to Josh Allen. Lamar is a lot better at making guys miss. Josh Allen just kind of barrel runs them over, but Lamar has been proving himself. He has 18 total touchdowns and 2 interceptions over the last 7 games. He's coming off of his best career playoff game. He had 4 touchdowns. I think it was like 121 QB rating. He's playing absolutely incredible. And I think that the defense provides Lamar more opportunities to be great. Because of how stout the defense is, Lamar has more opportunities on offense. If you look back at the game that they played against Houston, where they were scoring 10 points in the first half, they had 3 of those 5 drives with 10 yards or less. And Lamar did not look great, let's just be honest here. But the defense held up in the second half, and when the defense held up, Lamar had more opportunities to be great. If Lamar can't be great, this team won't win. It's not the same type of thing that we're seeing from the 2002 Buccaneers or the 2015 Denver Broncos, where the QBs are kind of like they're just kind of there and they're riding the coattails of the defense. I think in this situation, against all of the remaining teams, Lamar needs to be great. And if they want to win, and if they do win, it'll be because he is great. As to why they won't, it's just like Kansas City. Their rush defense isn't great. They're number 13 in the NFL. They allow 4.5 rush yards per attempt, just like Kansas City. And all three of the remaining teams have some pretty formidable running games. Kansas City is the worst, and Pacheco ran for 945 yards, and he's been getting it going even more so over the last couple of weeks, including, 90 yards and a touchdown last week. Two of the three teams remaining are in the top 7, and all three are in the top 10 in rushing yards per attempt. That's 4.4 yards per attempt or better. They're doing incredible. I think that their rush defense is probably the only bad side that they have right now, apart from maybe their wide receiver core. But if they want to win this Super Bowl, the rush defense has to really step it up, and against some of the remaining opponents, particularly San Francisco and Detroit, who rely heavily on their running game, they're going to have to really pick it up. Up next, we have the NFC. First of all, we have America's sweetheart, probably in the Detroit Lions. They're pretty much who everybody, I think, wants to be in the Super Bowl because of how bad they've been over their entire livelihood, you know what I mean? Since probably the 1940s, 50s was when the last time they won a championship. Now, as to why they'll win, their rush defense. Their rush defense is top-notch. All of their D-line is great at defending the run, and that provides more opportunities for their pass rush. Aiden Hutchinson is particularly really great. It's really great to see a sophomore like Aiden Hutchinson be so great in the run game, but also be so effective in the pass game. Their rush defense, they have the second best rush defense in the NFL, 87.7 yards per game. I believe Chicago's the only team that's better. They have the fifth lowest rush yards per attempt. That's 3.8. And two of these three teams are top 4 in rush yards per game. Baltimore and San Francisco, who they're playing this week. If their rush defense is really top-notch and they want to win a Super Bowl, they're going to have to be. And that's what they really need from this team. They need to go out and they need to play these teams with really, really good running games. And they really need to defend the run, which they've been amazing at all year. Now, as to why they won't, this one is going to be my longest explanation probably, and it's because their pass defense is awful. They rank number 30 in pass yards per game allowed with 253.4. They've allowed 350 yards passing in both playoffs this game against both Baker Mayfield and Matt Stafford. Their corners are particularly awful. Number 1 in being awful is Cam Sutton. He's played horribly this year, and particularly poorly in the playoffs. He's allowed a 149.3 passer rating while in coverage. Last week, when he covered Mike Evans, he was on him for 32 out of Evans' 40 snaps. Mike Evans, in those plays, had 147 yards and a touchdown. Their outside corners are very poor in Pro Football Focus ratings. Kindle Vildor, number 114 of 133, and Cam Sutton, number 109 of 133 for the outside corners. Now, Branch is their only really good defensive secondary player, and he ranks 23, but he's a slot corner, which means for players like Ayuk, for players like Zay Flowers, for players like Rashee Rice, Cam Sutton's on them. It's just kind of free from the looks of it. And if Detroit doesn't, improve their secondary, they're just going to lose. They played so poorly all year. You're taking overs on bets with wide receivers that are playing against them because of it. They've just been really bad. And if they can solve it this week, they're not going to make the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl. And last but not least, the team that I'm going to be the most critical of, particularly because they're my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. I'm really happy we're back in the championship game. I would love to see us play in another Super Bowl again. Please, God, let it happen. And the reason why we could win it all, we're the most explosive offense in football right now. I'm just going to say that out loud. We are the most yards per game in the NFL, 396.1. We are the fourth most rush yards per game, fourth most passing yards per game. We are good on both sides. I know there have been some questions about Brock Purdy. I know there have been some questions about his confidence. Heck, I even had some questions about him watching the game versus Green Bay, where he made some awful throws, made some awful decisions. But I have to have faith in the man in order to win us a Super Bowl. We scored the third most points per game with 28.6. We have the second best scoring margin in the NFL with plus 10.9. We have the league best red zone touchdown scoring percentage. When we get into the red zone, we score a touchdown 2/3 of the time. That's the best in the NFL. We have the highest points per play. That's 0.47. So pretty much almost once every 2 plays, we score a point. We have the third best third down conversion percentage with a little under 50%, and that just leads into our explosive offense. We have so many playmakers, Kittle, McCaffrey. I know Debo is hurt now, but Debo, Ayuk. We have a really strong run game. There's just so many pieces, juice check, that everybody can make plays. Juwan Jennings is stepping up when he needs to. It's really nice to see, and it really adds to our explosiveness. Now, I'm going to rant a little bit as to why we won't, and it's because of our freaking secondary. Charvarius Ward is amazing. The others are not. We had some very key defensive pass interference calls, particularly from Ambry Thomas, who was specifically targeted. He gave up 2 huge pass interference calls, and honestly, he just pissed me off. I don't know what you're doing in that secondary, and it's been my biggest problem from this team for years. We have had an atrocious secondary for I don't know how long, and it's really starting to piss me off because we're not doing anything about it. Charvarius Ward, we signed him. Amazing. Love it. We have amazing linebackers, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner. We have amazing people on our D-line like Hargrave, Chase Young now, Nick Bosa, amazing, Eric Armstead. Again, it's been great, but our secondary is really starting to piss me off, and the stats do not say just how bad our secondary has been performing. We have major downfield lapses when pass rush isn't applying the pressure, and the stats just don't tell that story. I watched our team fall on their butts and leave receivers wide open play after play after play for numerous big gains, and if we don't improve that, we will not make a Super Bowl. That is my biggest concern. It's been my biggest concern for years. Please, San Francisco, for the love of all that is holy, for my own heart, get it together. Well, guys, those are my takes. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree and think I'm an absolute idiot. Let me know who you think is going to win the Super Bowl, and who do you think is going to appear in the Super Bowl in general. If you guys like this video and you guys want to see more videos like it, and you want to see me cover maybe the Super Bowl matchup, make sure you smash that like button, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.